Welcome to City on a Hill Kids Church Online.
I'm Noah.
And I'm Jamie.
And today we're looking at Jonah Chapter 2.
But that'll be after a time of worship.
We're going to sing Jonah again. Remember, we got to be like Jonah, Jonah. And then we go down in the depths of the deep blue sea. Okay? We're not going to start again. Here we go. Come and listen to my fearful tale of the ocean blue. How a man got swallowed by a whale. Yes, I know it's true. Here we go. Jonah, Jonah, did not obey God immediately. Jonah, Jonah, down in the depths of the deep blue sea. Then a great big fish that God had made swallowed Jonah whole. But the Lord heard Jonah when he prayed, rescue my poor soul. Jonah, Jonah, did not obey God immediately. Jonah, Jonah, down in the depths of the deep blue sea. Here we go, you gotta yell, beware, okay? If you try to run from God, beware! You'll discover too that the Lord above is everywhere, watching all you do. Jonah, Jonah, did not obey God immediately. Jonah, Jonah, down in the depths of the deep blue sea.
This week we're looking at Jonah Chapter 2. Remember last week we found out that Jonah was asked by God to go to that city, that great city, Nineveh, so as to warn the people that it was going to be overthrown because of their wickedness. And what did Jonah do? He ran away. He tried to get as far as he physically could from God, going to Tarshish. Can you imagine that? He was trying to run away from God. And then the ship that he got on, he caused trouble for the sailors because there was a massive storm. And the only way that storm subsided was when Jonah was thrown overboard into the raging sea, and the storm stopped suddenly. The storm stopped immediately. And these sailors who threw Jonah overboard, when they saw this, they were flabbergasted. And they made a sacrifice to God there and then and vowed to serve Jonah's God. Incidentally, he is our God too. Now, Jonah was in the sea and he was being tossed and turned. And then God prepared a big fish to swallow Jonah. And that's exactly what happened. And so chapter 2 is all about the prayer that Jonah prayed while in the fish's belly. It seems as if Jonah was relatively safe in the fish's belly, but I can imagine that it must have been really dark and lonely in there. Firstly, he probably thanked God that the fish had swallowed him and that he had been saved from drowning. And he prayed to God. But it's quite interesting for somebody who was running away from God and is sitting in the belly of a fish. He still prayed and he still believed that God was hearing his prayer. What was he even thinking? What was he thinking? Running away from God. Did he think that he was going to be able to succeed in doing that? Anyway, back to Jonah's prayer. While he was in the fish's belly, he had time to reflect on the entire situation, his entire situation. He must have felt that he was in the deepest and the darkest place ever, and that God had abandoned him. I wouldn't blame him for thinking that way. I wouldn't blame him for feeling that way. But that is how he felt. But it's unlikely that is what God was doing. God hadn't abandoned him. God had actually saved him. Jonah must have really felt sorry for himself and felt hopeless. But then he remembered his God. He remembered that his God was a loyal and loving God, and that made him pray all the more. He prayed with thanksgiving and trust that God would deliver him from the fish's belly, and that he was going to be able to go to Jerusalem to fulfill his vow. And you know what? He was right, because the fish vomited Jonah. That is, he threw Jonah up onto dry land. So you see, God saved Jonah. He had his back. He had Jonah's back. He saved him. That's not all. Jonah had time to reflect over his situation and realized that God heard his prayer, even though he was in the deepest, darkest place he could ever be. What he would have felt was hell. God still heard his prayer and answered him. What a story. And that's the end of the story.
Hello everybody. So last week we made a little boat to think about the boat in the storm, and this week we have a fish. The Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah. I love this craft. It's so funny. It's a giggle maker, but it also helps us remember the story. Here's our huge fish. He's swimming along and then whoa, he swallows Jonah. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these. And again, this is quite a versatile craft. It's good for this story, but you could adapt it to make all kinds of growing things or monsters with mouths. So first of all, you need a piece of paper. It needs to be rectangular. I'm just using A4 because that's straightforward. Fold it in half. Okay, just in half long ways, and then fold the bottom edge up. Okay, so that means we can see this part and this part and this bit is folded inside. So the next thing you need to do is, with it folded up, you're going to draw your fish, a kind of a normal fish shape. Okay, so don't worry about the fact that it goes over two pieces. So there's our fish body, a fish tail. Don't give it a complicated tail, because otherwise when you open it up, it's not going to match up. It needs to be a fairly simple fish design. But I'm just giving it a fin top and bottom. We'll give it an eye, fishy eye, and we'll give it some fishy lips so we can see where its mouth is. So here we have our fish, and if you want to, you could put in some waves of the sea round about to show it's a swimming fish. Next thing we do is we open it up, and here you can see our opened up fish. So what you might want to do is give it some teeth. These won't show when it's folded, but it makes it a little bit more sinister. Now, the fish, it obviously didn't chew Jonah, swallowed him in one gulp. So you don't have to give your fish teeth, but you can if you want to. I'm not actually sure if fish have teeth. Sharks have teeth, don't they? So I suppose they do. And then what you need to do is join up the top and the bottom jaw in that huge mouth. And then same at the back, you need to join up the tail. There we go. And then what you need to do is draw Jonah, poor little Jonah. But it's good really, because he's being rescued. So we can draw his robe, and then, oops, his feet. There's his front arm. I'm drawing him sort of a bit sideways, as if he's trying to swim away. So there's his other arm. He didn't realise, I suppose, at this point that this was the way he was going to be saved, did he? And then to make a sort of scared looking mouth, if you make the eyes and the mouth like a capital O shape, like that, we can draw in his beard, his nose, and some hair. There we have it. Now, if you want, you could put in a few bubbles. That's Jonah's last breath, just as he was sinking down under the water, and then I suppose he was able to breathe inside the fish. So, here we have it. The Lord provided a huge fish that swallowed Jonah. I just think this is a great craft. It's very quick, very simple, very funny, and reminds us of our story. So, I hope you had fun making some fish. Hope you had fun drawing some Jonahs. And we'll leave him in there till next week. Bye for now.
Jonah was swallowed by a big fish.
He was.
But what I find interesting is that God prepared that fish to save Jonah.
He did. This shows that even in the great storms of our life, like the raging sea, God will always protect us. God gave Jonah a mission to carry out, but still give opportunities for him to obey God.
I don't get Jonah though.
Why?
Well, he was running from God and he probably thought he could. But he was in a dark, lonely place and was still praying to the God he was running from.
That's right. I know it's strange, but do you know what's stranger?
What?
At some point, he expected God to answer his prayers. He prayed thanking God and trusting God.
Yes, and he trusted that God would deliver him from the fish's belly. And he did.
That's right. You know, guys, this is a learning point. Even when we're in the darkest part of our lives, always pray to God with thanksgiving and trust, and he will deliver you from any situation that comes your way. That's it for this week.
Till next time.
Bye!